manipulation, betrayal, and murders. The Bible is full of impactful stories, but today we will delve into the lives of three women who stood out for their cruel and controversial acts. Who were they? What crimes did they commit? And what led their names to be remembered as examples of evil? Get ready to learn the details behind each of these historical figures, their dark actions, and the consequences of their actions. This is content that will surprise you and, who knows, even bring important reflections on the lessons behind these narratives. If you like stories like this, leave your like and subscribe to the channel. This helps us continue to bring you quality content and allows more people to discover these fascinating stories. Don't forget to share this video with your friends so they can also meet the worst women in the Bible. So, without further delay, let's begin our journey through the past and uncover the secrets behind these controversial figures. Block 2. The third worst woman in the Bible, Herodias. The story of Herodias is one of the most shocking in the Bible, marked by pride, revenge, and a cruel plan that culminated in one of the best-known deaths in Scripture. To understand how Herodias became such a hated figure, we need to go back in time and analyze the context that led her to act in such a ruthless way. Who was Herodias? Herodias was a woman who held a prominent position in the court of Herod Antipas, the governor of Galilee and Perea. Her marriage to Herod Antipas already began amid controversy. She had divorced her first husband, Philip, who was Herod's brother. In turn, Herod also divorced his legitimate wife to marry Herodias. This union was considered scandalous and immoral, violating Jewish laws, which condemned marriage with one's brother's ex-wife. This act not only provoked a social scandal, but also aroused the wrath of John the Baptist, one of the greatest prophets of his time. Known for his courage and devotion, John did not hesitate to publicly condemn this illicit union, classifying it as a serious sin against God and the laws of the Jewish people. The confrontation with John the Baptist. John the Baptist's words echoed throughout the region, attracting crowds. He openly denounced the conduct of Herod and Herodias, drawing attention to sin and the moral impact of this union. While Herod felt a mixture of irritation and admiration for John, Herodias could not stand the criticism. For her, João Batista represented a personal and political threat. His prophetic voice exposed the weaknesses and errors of their union, tarnishing its image and challenging its authority. Determined to silence John, Herodias began to pressure Herod to take drastic action. Initially, Herod resisted. Although he was uncomfortable with John's accusations, he respected the prophet as a man of God and feared the repercussions of an extreme act against him. Still, Herodias persisted, convincing Herod to order the arrest of John the Baptist. Although he was imprisoned, Herodias' dissatisfaction was not assuaged. She wanted more. She wanted his death. Herodias' opportunity came on a special occasion, a luxurious banquet hosted by Herod Antipas for the leaders and important men of the region. During the party, Herodias put her plan into practice, involving her daughter, Salome, in the plot. Salome was a young woman known for her beauty and charm. Instructed by her mother, she danced for Herod and his guests, enchanting everyone with her performance. Herod, fascinated, promised Salome anything she asked, even half of his kingdom. This public oath put Herod in a delicate position, as he could not back down without losing his honor in front of his guests. It was at this moment that Herodias acted behind the scenes. She instructed Salome to ask for something unusual and horrible, the head of John the Baptist on a platter. Herod was shocked by the request, but his public promise prevented him from refusing. Despite his reluctance, he ordered the request to be granted. Thus, John the Baptist was beheaded in prison, and his head was given to Salome, who took it to Herodias. The death of John the Baptist marked Herodias as one of the cruelest figures in the Bible. Her manipulative influence over Herod and Salome demonstrated the lengths she was willing to go to protect her reputation and eliminate any opposition. However, His actions brought with them a shadow of divine judgment and condemnation. The story of Herodias is a warning about the dangers of pride and revenge. She teaches us how the desire to control and silence others can lead to acts of extreme cruelty, causing pain not only to the victims, but also to those who allow themselves to be influenced by such manipulations. Lesson for reflection. Herodias is an example of how pride and lack of humility can destroy lives and legacies. Her story challenges us to reflect on the importance of listening to criticism with wisdom and humility, rather than allowing resentment to dominate us. Now that we know the story of Herodias, let's continue our journey to discover who ranks second among the cruelest women in the Bible. Get ready to meet Athaliah, a figure whose ambition knew no limits. 3. The second worst woman in the Bible, Athaliah. Athaliah is one of the darkest figures in the history of Judah, marked by betrayal, excessive ambition, and violence. His trajectory is deeply rooted in political intrigue and a desire to consolidate power at any cost. To understand the impact of his actions, it is essential to explore every detail of his life, from his origins to his tragic downfall. Origin and context. Athaliah was the daughter of Ahab, king of Israel, and Jezebel, the cruelest woman in the Bible, known for her idolatry and manipulation. This heritage shaped Athaliah's worldview, as she grew up in an environment of political intrigue and spiritual instability. When she married Joram, king of Judah, Athaliah took her mother's religious influence with her, introducing pagan practices into Judah and weakening the people's devotion to the God of Israel. Her marriage to Joram was a political alliance intended to unite Israel and Judah, but it ended up being a catalyst for spiritual destruction for both kingdoms. Joram, under the influence of Athaliah, followed the paths of Ahab and Jezebel, moving away from divine principles and leading Judah into a period of moral and spiritual decadence. The opportunity to assume power. After Joram's death, his son Ahaziah assumed the throne of Judah. However, Ahaziah's reign was short. He died in a coup led by Jehu, the commander of Israel's army, who was determined to eradicate the legacy of idolatry left by Ahab and Jezebel. With Ahaziah's death, Judah was left without a legitimate ruler, as none of his descendants were old enough to take the throne. It was in this moment of crisis that Athaliah saw the opportunity to take full control of Judah. Taking advantage of the power vacuum, she declared herself queen, defying traditions and breaking with the royal lineage of David, which was seen as the continuation of divine promise for the Jewish people. The Reign of Terror. Determined to consolidate her power, Athaliah undertook an act of unprecedented brutality. She ordered the extermination of all descendants of the house of David. This lineage was fundamental to the history and promises of the people of Judah, as it represented the continuity of the divine covenant with David, which predicted the emergence of a Messiah. Athaliah sought to eliminate any potential threat to her reign. In her attempt to exterminate the royal bloodline, she ordered a series of assassinations, leading to the deaths of several members of the royal family. His act was not only a political strategy, but also a direct attack on the spiritual symbolism of the lineage of David, which carried the hope of redemption for the Jewish people. However, Athaliah was unable to completely eradicate the royal bloodline. Jehoiada, the high priest of Judah, played a crucial role in the resistance against Athaliah's rule. He and his wife Jesheba, Ahaziah's sister, managed to save Joash, a baby who was David's only surviving descendant. Jehoiada hid Joash in the temple for 6 years, protecting him from Athaliah's fury. This courageous action was a demonstration of faith and commitment to the divine plan. Jehoiada not only preserved Joash's life, but also ensured that God's promise to the house of David remained alive, even in the face of Athaliah's attempts to destroy it. Remains of Athaliah. After 6 years of Athaliah's rule, Jehoiada organized a revolt to restore David's lineage to the throne. He proclaimed Joash as the rightful king of Judah in a public ceremony at the temple, with the support of religious, military, and popular leaders. Athaliah, upon hearing Joash's shouts of acclamation, ran to the temple and, upon realizing what was happening, shouted, "Treason! Treason!" However, his desperate attempt to maintain power had no effect. The people, already tired of his reign of terror, supported the restoration of David's lineage. Athaliah was captured, taken out of the temple, and executed in the royal palace. Athaliah's death marked a turning point in the history of Judah. Her fall meant not only the end of a period of oppression and idolatry, but also the reaffirmation of the divine covenant with the house of David. Joash's ascension to the throne brought hope and renewal to the people, symbolizing the victory of faith and justice over evil and excessive ambition. The first worst woman in the Bible, Jezebel. At the top of our list is Jezebel, one of the most infamous names in the Bible. Her legacy goes far beyond politics. She symbolizes idolatry, manipulation, and corruption in its most extreme form. His story is an example of how power, when misused, can destroy not just one person, but also an entire nation. Let's explore the details of her life and the reasons that made her the cruelest woman in Scripture. Origins and alliance with Israel. Jezebel was a Phoenician princess, daughter of Ethbaal, king of Sidon, a nation that worshipped Baal, the pagan god of fertility and storms. Her marriage to Ahab, king of Israel, was a strategic political alliance designed to strengthen commercial and military ties between the two peoples. However, this union brought with it a devastating impact on Israel's spirituality and morality. By marrying Ahab, Jezebel not only brought her cultural and religious practices, but made a point of imposing the worship of Baal on the people of Israel. She influenced Ahab to build altars and temples dedicated to this god, turning the hearts of the people away from the God of Israel. Under his influence, idolatry became dominant in the kingdom, causing unprecedented spiritual estrangement. Manipulation and persecution. Jezebel was not content with promoting the worship of Baal. She actively persecuted those who opposed her religious practices. Her cruelty was especially directed at God's prophets, many of whom were executed on her orders. A clear example of his persecution was his confrontation with the prophet Elijah. Elijah, one of Israel's greatest prophets, became Jezebel's main target due to his opposition to the cult of Baal. After the famous episode on Mount Carmel, where Elijah challenged the prophets of Baal and proved that the God of Israel was the only true one, Jezebel swore to kill him. His threat forced Elijah to flee into the desert, fearing for his life. This episode illustrates Jezebel's determination to silence any resistance, even if it came from a man of God. One of Jezebel's cruelest acts was her plot against Naboth, a righteous man who owned a vineyard near Ahab's palace. Ahab wanted that vineyard, but Naboth refused to sell it, claiming that it was a family heirloom, something sacred in the traditions of Israel. Ahab's desire for the vineyard left him dejected, and that's when Jezebel took action. Using her position of power, Jezebel devised an evil plan to take over Naboth's vineyard. She forged letters in the king's name and called a meeting in which she falsely accused Naboth of blasphemy against God and the king. Lying witnesses were used to convict him, and Naboth was unjustly stoned to death. After her execution, Jezebel handed over the vineyard to Ahab, satisfied that she had fulfilled her husband's wishes. This act not only revealed Jezebel's cruelty, but also showed how corruption and abuse of power could destroy innocent lives. However, his evil would not go unnoticed. The prophet Elijah, once again, confronted Ahab and Jezebel, proclaiming the divine justice that would fall upon them for their actions. The prophecy of his fall. Through the prophet Elijah, God announced judgment against Jezebel and Ahab. The prophecy said that Jezebel would face a terrible and humiliating death, and that dogs would lick up her blood in the same land where she plotted against Naboth. This announcement was a milestone in history, reminding us that no evil act escapes divine judgment. After Ahab's death in battle, Jezebel continued to exert influence over Israel through her sons. However, his reign of terror was coming to an end. Jehu, a military commander chosen by God, led a revolt to eradicate Jezebel's legacy and restore the worship of the true God. Jezebel's dramatic end. Jezebel's end is as impactful as her life. When Jehu arrived in Jezreel, where Jezebel was, she tried to use her cunning one last time. Upon hearing that Jehu was approaching, Jezebel got ready, painted her eyes, and stood at the palace window to meet him. Many scholars believe that this gesture was an attempt to seduce him or to demonstrate power and authority. However, Jehu was not deceived. He confronted Jezebel directly and, in a decisive move, ordered the eunuchs serving her to throw her out of the window. Jezebel fell to her death, and as had been prophesied, the dogs devoured her body, leaving only her hands, feet, and skull. This brutal end marked the fulfillment of Elijah's prophecy and symbolized the complete defeat of his wickedness. Jezebel's name has become synonymous with corruption, idolatry, and manipulation. Her story is a cautionary tale about the devastating impact of abusing power and rejecting God's ways. She led Israel into a period of spiritual decay, but her fall showed that divine justice is inevitable. Jezebel's trajectory teaches us that, no matter how powerful some people may seem, their actions do not escape God's judgment. His story is a reminder that justice may take time, but it always prevails. Now that we know Jezebel and all the details, we want to know your opinion. What most caught your attention in this story? Leave it in the comments and take the opportunity to check out the other videos on the channel, where we explore remarkable stories from the Bible. Don't forget to subscribe to continue following our content. We have reached the end of our journey through these intense stories full of lessons. Herodias, Athaliah, and Jezebel, three women whose names were marked by their acts of ambition, manipulation, and cruelty. Their stories show us the devastating impact that selfish choices and moral deviations can have, not just on their lives, but on the entire society around them. On the other hand, each of these narratives also reminds us of the importance of courage, justice, and faith. John the Baptist, Jehoiada, and Elijah are examples of how determination and fidelity to God can resist even the greatest acts of evil. Now, we want to hear from you. Which of these stories impacted you the most? Do you believe these lessons are still relevant today? Leave your comment, as we really want to hear your opinion. Also, take the opportunity to tell us which city you are watching this video from. And before we go, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to receive notifications of our upcoming content. Your support is essential for us to continue bringing videos like this. If you liked it, leave a like and share it with friends who are also interested in biblical stories and deep reflections. Thank you very much for following us here. See you in the next video. A big hug, and may God bless you and your family. We have reached the end of our journey through these gripping and thought-provoking stories. Herodias, Athaliah, and Jezebel, three women whose names echo through history as symbols of ambition, manipulation, and cruelty. Their actions not only shaped their own fates, but also left scars on the societies they influenced, demonstrating the far-reaching consequences of selfish choices and moral deviations. These narratives serve as stark reminders of how unchecked power and disregard for ethics can lead to devastating outcomes, not just for individuals but for entire nations. On the other hand, within these accounts of darkness, we also find powerful examples of light and resilience. Figures like John the Baptist, Jehoiada, and Elijah stand as beacons of courage, justice, and faith, showing us that determination and fidelity to God can prevail even in the face of overwhelming evil. Their steadfastness inspires us to remain faithful and principled, no matter the challenges we face. Now, we turn the conversation over to you. Which of these stories impacted you the most? Do you think the lessons they hold are still relevant in today's world? How can we apply their teachings to our own lives? Share your thoughts in the comments. We truly value your perspective and would love to hear your insights. And while you're at it, tell us from which city you're watching this video. Before we wrap up, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming content. Your support is what keeps us going and allows us to bring you more videos like this. If you enjoyed this journey, leave a like and share it with your friends who also appreciate biblical stories and meaningful reflections. Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration. Your presence and engagement mean the world to us. Until next time, stay safe, stay blessed, and may God's grace shine upon you and your family. See you in the next video. A big hug to all of you.